AI presentation fairly quickly just to make sure that you kind of have an overview of what AI can do for you. And AI is a great new tool that will help you work faster and smarter. So that's what we're going to do. So if you haven't already scanned the QR code, please scan the QR code so we know you were here. And if you scan the QR code and you are here, I will send you some additional information probably tomorrow that will help you do something, do other things. And that will include a link to my prompt database. I have a prompt database. Not all the prompts that I'm going to use today are in the database, but you will have access to some other ones that you might want to use. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So how can AI help you? Modern AI bot tools, ChatGPT is the one I'm going to be using, but there are others, are large language models, meaning that they have been trained on massive data sets of text. And that helps them understand and generate human-like language, and they can perform some tasks. I use AI a lot. I have found that it can really help me do things quicker and faster, which means I can spend more time actually working one-on-one with students to help them find jobs. So I really like working with AI. And there are a lot of options, and I'm going to go over those in a minute. So here are just some of the things that you can do with AI. AI can help you improve your resume. I'm going to do an actual demonstration of that later on. It can help you with cover letters. You can actually get your cover letter 90% of the way there in about 3 minutes with AI, and then you could spend your time actually making it a good cover letter rather than trying to do the grunt work of writing cover letters. It can help you prepare for interviews, which can be really helpful. It can help you search for grad schools if you decide you want to do that. It can help you with LinkedIn if you need some help with your LinkedIn profile. And it can organize your applications and organize the information that you need to stay organized in a career search. So the first thing I'm going to cover is resume help. So with resume, you can use AI to make your bullets better. You can use it to ensure you've included the keywords. For those of you who haven't heard one of our presentations before, employers now are using AI to review your resume, and in which case they're only going to look at the top 20-25% of the resumes they get. And the way they're going to decide that is that they're going to run your resume through a computer, an AI bot that is going to check it against the keywords in their job description. And so you want to make sure that you've included those keywords so that you go to the top of the stack and an actual human reviews your resume. It's gonna suggest skills that you need to include that you might have missed. And it's gonna write a summary if you want to include one. We generally don't recommend summaries, but you can do them, and some students find them helpful. So here's an example of how to improve the wording on your bullet points. So here are some bullet points that I pulled from other resumes. So design and perform comparison study of various adaptive testing, design and develop an algorithm, and development in C++. Okay, so you see that there's a lot of repetitive words in here. And so you want to make sure that you don't do that. And if you just copy these and throw them into ChatGPT and say, make them better, and you can specify particular skills that you want them to emphasize, and it might come back with something like this. So conducted a comprehensive comparative analysis, engineered a robust algorithm, spearheaded the development of advanced educational software. So these are much stronger resumes or bullet points that include more of the keywords that you might want to do. They also include why it mattered, which is important. Oops, I didn't do that. I didn't want to do that. So like enhancing the personalization of educational content You see that that's not even in here, and that can be really helpful, and it can really show that you know how what you're doing makes a difference for your customer, whoever your customer is. Okay, so with cover letters, you can ask it to write the letter for you based on your resume and the job description. You can ask it to make your letters more persuasive, and you can ask it to suggest changes on an existing letter for a new employer. So if you have a letter that you really like and you want to use it to apply for a different job, you can run your letter through AI with a copy of the job description, and it'll kind of tweak it for you so it's ready for the new job. Okay, so here's an example. You can make this cover letter more persuasive. This is one that I actually see a lot. You know, dear hiring manager, my name is John Doe. I I never understand why people do this because your name is right at the top of the letter. But this is kind of a boring one, and you can make ChatGPT make it more interesting. I am enthusiastic about the analyst position at Crane and Jenkins. My professional journey has been marked by steadfast commitment to data excellence. So you can see why this is like slightly more persuasive and more likely to get you an actual interview, which is the goal of your resume and cover letter. It's not to get a job, it's to get the interview, because it's the interview that's going to get you the job. Okay, so when you go on to interviews, AI can help you prepare for those interviews. So you can ask it for a list of possible questions. I'm going to show you that one because it's a really cool feature that you can use. Ask for feedback on your answer. So if you have an answer, you can type it in there and say, you know, suggest changes. And that way, especially if you really, really want, this is your job and you really want it, you want to really ace that interview, you can run this through AI. The one caveat I will tell you if you end up doing that is you don't want to print out your answers and then read them in your interview, which is something that people who are doing Zoom interviews often think is good. It actually isn't good. You want to read the question, read the answer, and kind of commit it to memory so that you can give it back. Because if you are reading your questions in an interview, they know that you're reading your questions. Everyone can tell. They just can. You have to just talk about it. And you can generate a list of questions to ask the interviewer. That can be really helpful. We always say you need to ask 2 or 3 questions at the end of your interview, so this can help you do that. And then you can ask for help in writing your thank you email. And AI will just spit out a sample sample email that then you can paste into your email program and then customize a little bit. Okay, so this is one of my favorite things, create a list of interview questions for a policy analyst at Lockheed Martin. And so it's going to give you some questions that they might ask you. I'm going to show you a way to go even beyond that that's even better. But if you are going to have a question or an interview at Lockheed Martin as a policy analyst, these are some questions that they're likely to ask you. They probably won't ask you these exact questions, but this will help you prepare for the interview and have an idea of the kinds of questions that they're going to ask you. And if you prepare for these questions, you should be able to think on your feet and answer the questions that they do end up asking you. Okay, so if you want to go to grad school, this is where AI can be a real help because it can make yourself a list of schools based on your personal criteria. This is one of my favorite. I like to show people that if you want to go to a grad program and you want to find one where the college helps support their grad students, so you know you're likely to get a teaching assignment so that that can offset the cost of your grad school. You can ask which schools in your major do that. You can ask for a timeline. This is something I do with students all the time. If you're a junior and you think you want to apply for grad school and start right after college, you can go into a large language model and ask it to give you a timeline for applying to grad school. And it will break it down and give you a list, like a checklist of the things you need to do. And that can really help you stay organized and manage your time well. You can ask it how to prepare for the GRE if you have to take the GRE. You can actually, I'm going to show you a really cool thing with the GRE that you can use. You can suggest wording for an email to ask your professors for a letter of recommendation. That's going to be really important because those letters of recommendation from your professors are really important when you're applying to grad school. And you can ask for help with your personal statement. Sometimes when you're writing a personal statement, you can get stuck on a particular paragraph or something, and you know it's not right, but you can't figure out what to do with it. You can just paste that one paragraph um, into one of the chat programs and say, can you make this stronger? And it will give you, you can actually even ask it to give you 3 options for rewording a particular thing, and then that can help you pick out the one that speaks your language the best. Okay, so here is, can I get a list of MFA programs that fully fund their grad students? This is one of my favorite ones. So this will give you a little bit of stuff here. So the University of Virginia offers fellowship support or teaching income for the first 2 academic years. Washington University in St. Louis provides a stipend. University of Michigan Ann Arbor Helen Zell Writers Program offers a stipend. And the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana provides a scaled stamp stipend. And there were more. This was all that would fit on the slide. So you can see that this can be really helpful when you're trying to get your grad schools in order. It can help you with your LinkedIn page. So you can actually ask it for tips for formatting your profile based on your resume. It can create that tagline. A lot of times I see the tagline. This isn't what a normal LinkedIn page looks like, but there's that tagline that kind of describes who you are. And a lot of times I see student at George Washington University as the tagline, but that's not really what you want to use. And you can ask one of the chat programs to give you a more creative tagline that really describes who you are. It really helps if you start with your resume because it'll look at your resume and then it'll pick out things that you might like and give you a much more creative tagline than just student at GW. You can ask for suggestions on skills to include. And so can you make a suggestion for creating a LinkedIn profile from this resume? So if you paste a resume in there, it will say, okay, for your profile photo, choose a professional headshot and your headline. So this is one that they suggest. I usually take the ones that they suggest and I say, make this more creative because I think it captures the attention of recruiters online. If your headline is a little more it reflects more of your personality. And then you can ask it to help you write the bio that you need to put on there. So it can be really helpful for your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so AI can also help you organize. So you can ask for a suggestive list of job titles based on your resume. This can be a really interesting guideline because there might be jobs that it comes up with that you may never have heard of based on the things that you've done. It might put together 2 really disparate things that you have done in your life and come up with a middle ground of those job titles. It can be really helpful. You can ask for a list of potential employers for your chosen job titles. So this can help you if you're not finding the jobs that you want. This can help send you to the company's websites to see what they have listed on their jobs, on their websites, and it could go in and find those for you. If you use a more advanced one, sometimes it'll even put the companies on a map and show you where they are. So if you want to pick out a company that's close to you, it can help you do that. You can ask for a spreadsheet to organize your job search. It's not going to give you the whole spreadsheet, but it's going to tell you what you should kind of keep track of so that that can help you organize your search. So you make sure you're not applying to the same job twice or that you are following up if you need to on a job that someone's given you. So here, can you create an organizing spreadsheet for my job search? So here's what you want to do: the company name, the name of the organization, and this is on a spreadsheet. So you can do this in either Sheets or Excel. So the first column would be company name, the next column would be position title, the location, application date when you submitted, the date that you want to follow up, and then you can sort that for the follow-up date. You can track your status so you can remember where you are. Any contacts that you have in that particular company, you can keep track of those. That can help you really follow up on things that you want to do. Okay, so I have a couple tips for success. So the first one is copy and paste job descriptions and resumes when appropriate. When you do that, don't copy, especially on your, you can copy anything on a job description, but when you copy your resume, don't copy your name and your contact information. Start at the first section of your resume and copy and paste all of that in there. You don't want to give ChatGPT or um, Gemini or any of the other ones more information than they really need. Um, when you're in a job window, when you're in the the window where you put your instructions, if you hold the shift key down when you hit enter, it will give you another line where you can paste new information without sending it to the computer. So shift enter before you hit enter and go to the computer. Sometimes I forget that shift part when I'm trying to do that, and it sends something to the chat bot too soon. And then you have to go back and enter the information again. So this can be really helpful. And then remember that these are conversations, so you can ask for iterative changes, and I'll kind of show you how that works in a minute. Okay, so now you can automate some of the stuff you do. You can create prompt templates and save them in a notes page. I'm going to show you my prompt template. And I have it organized in a spreadsheet. I actually got this when I was taking online classes on how to use AI. They started us out with um, a, a Excel document. Actually, I have it in Sheets document that has a bunch of prompts in it, and I share it with people all the time, and I add my prompts to it all the time. So this way you have it and you can just copy and paste it. You don't have to type everything over and over again. Okay, so you can actually create prompts with variables by using these curly brackets. And this is if you're doing the same thing over and over. So here is a sample prompt, and this is going to be what things are like on the spreadsheet that I'm going to share with you. So please consolidate these bullets into number of bullets, persuasive bullet points. And so the number of bullets, you want 2 bullets at the end, and then you can just kind of talk about what you were doing, and then it's going to give you 2 good bullet points that hit these things and that are persuasive and resume for you to put on your resume. Okay, so one caveat that I will give you is that AI chatbots are prone to hallucinations. You want to make sure that they don't do hallucinations. I was just reading an article yesterday of, I know if you watch TV at all, you probably have heard of Morgan and Morgan. So they had a lawsuit filed in Wyoming, and one of the lawyers at Morgan and Morgan had filed a brief with the judge and had cited a whole bunch of legal um, citations, which is something you do when you create legal briefs. And none of the citations actually existed. So they were when they ran this thing through ChatGPT, it just made up legal citations, and it had the name of the lawsuit and when it was filed and what court it was filed in and stuff like that, but it was all made up. The judge is not happy with this because they couldn't verify any of these citations that were included. This is very famous. There have been several lawyers who have gotten into trouble by asking ChatGPT to write their legal briefs and then not checking up on the citations. So you want to really be careful with hallucinations. So it can make things up about you, especially when you're doing things that talk about you, like your personal statement or your cover letters or things like that. It will infer things that may not be true when it reads your resume and then give you an answer that doesn't really exist. So you really want to, anything that you do in AI, you want to read carefully and you want to make sure that everything is truthful. We don't want to see any George Santos like resumes or cover letters that come out of this school. So do make sure that you're reading everything that you do and adjust it when necessary. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about demos. I'm going to use ChatGPT for this demo because I actually pay for my own account on ChatGPT, so I have access to the more um, all of the other things, but most of them are free. And so Perplexly AI is a good one. Google Gemini is a good chatbot. Microsoft Copilot and Anthropic Claude are all really good alternatives to ChatGPT, and you can use whichever one you like. They all work the same. And then finally, this is something I want everyone to keep in mind when they use AI. It is a tool. So Jacob Collier is a young musician who uses a lot of AI, but this is his mantra. It's a tool in music making. It's fine to use it as a tool, but the humanity is what makes people want to listen to it. So even if you use AI to help you write things, make sure you go back and make it sound like it's in your voice because that's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear the computer voice. They want to hear your voice. So it is a tool that can save you time, but make sure it says what you want it to say. Just don't accept everything that AI throws at you as the best because it's not. Okay. So, and this is my caveat. AI is a tool that needs to be used judiciously. It can help you spell words correctly, use the correct words, organize your tasks, and write better. But it cannot judge whether the information is accurate. Only you can do that. And you will always be better at ensuring that your resume is formatted correctly, that your cover letter accurately reflects your skills, and that your grad school applications reflect your thoughts. Please use it responsibly. Okay, I am going to go back to this and go on to chat. And I'm going to show you. I have kind of a sample resume here. This is Joan Smith's resume. Joan Smith is a political science major with a minor in music. And she's had some experiences as an intern. She was a social media intern at Freedom Cafe, a radio intern at WGRW, and an intern at the North Carolina State House. So, and then she worked at Martha's Table. So I'm going to show you some things. So say that you have done a lot of social media work, but now you want to go into more research. So, and this is, you can do this with any pivot that you want to make. But if you are trying to change, this is what you can do. So I'm going to select all of this. So you see that I'm not selecting Joan Smith nor her phone number and other stuff. I'm just going to select all of this and I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to say, suggest changes on this resume to apply for research or oriented positions. And I would specify the research. Let's do food related research for a food related research oriented position. Okay, so now I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to hit enter. And that gives me the blank line and I'm going to paste that resume in there. So you can see the whole resume is there except for the name and contact information. And I'm going to hit enter and it's going to go in. And what it's going to do is make some suggestions. So these are the key things that you need to do. So you see that it says that these the relevant courses that were on there weren't really food related. So it says that you want to change it to these kinds of things. You want to include your research experience. If you haven't done any jobs that involve research, maybe a class where you had to do research, you might want to add that to your resume. And this is a particularly important one. If you have worked on a project related to food systems, agriculture, nutrition, or consumer behavior, make it as a separate entry. And you can add it as research experience on your resume. Um, and then it says if you have any of these skills, make sure you include those on your resume. And then it says you might want to adjust your interests to show that you have those. I don't know if you noticed, but the interests on here were knitting and hiking with my dog. So you want to mention some other interests in there. So now it's going to give you some specific changes. So you can see this is saying, ooh, that Martha's Table experience that was listed on the resume as other experience. Well, that's food related. So it's going to suggest that you move that to your top as related experience and really talk about what you did at Martha's Table, because that's going to be important. Now, it's making up things that you did. You may not have done these things, but this is a suggestion on what kinds of things you need to include. And it says to really emphasize the Freedom Cafe stuff, because that was raising money for healthcare initiatives. Were they food related? That would make sense if it was a Freedom Cafe. So maybe you want to do that. Researched and created content on ethical food sourcing and sustainability. Now, again, it's pulling this stuff out of thin air. So you may not have done this. You don't want to include it on your resume if you haven't done it, but it gives you some ideas of what you need to think about when you're changing to a whole different thing. And the North Carolina State House PFAS chemicals is related to food packaging. So it is talking about making sure that you emphasize that. Now, this may not have been true, but if it was, you want to do that. And then this is now relegated to other experience. So it's saying that here, this is political science. This was a political, cultural and political topics show. So that may not be as relevant. So it can go down into here. So that's kind of important. And then it gives you some skills you might want to include. These are really good ones if you need, if you're going to be doing research, if you know those, you want to do them. And you can see that it keeps your language, it keeps your technical skills, because all of that's the same. And then it gives you some final thoughts. And this is a really good suggestion. If you have any independent projects, academic papers, or data analysis work on food policy, consider adding a research section. Okay, so another thing you can do. Okay, so one of the things to know now is that I have started this conversation with chat. So chat has, I'm assuming that this is my resume. The chat bot now has my resume, so I don't have to do that anymore. So let's say food science jobs. I'm gonna just see if there's anything here near me, and let's see. Okay, so here is research food technologist. Okay, so let's say, yeah, I know this is the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's probably not a job that actually exists anymore, but I'm just going to use it as an example. So when I'm going to open this, I'm going to make sure that I get the whole qualifications and responsibilities section, and that's going to be important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that it's with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, that it's a food technologist position. This is what they're looking for. So I'm going to copy all of that. I'm going back into this one, and then I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to say, suggest changes to the resume for this job. And then I'm going to hit shift return and paste the job description in there. And Now it's going to go back to that resume, maybe. There we go. There we go. Now it's going to redo the suggestions based on that job description. So it says, add lab techniques, food processing methods. So obviously, this resume has absolutely nothing to do with this, but this just shows you what Chat GPT will do. And you see, again, it said the Martha's table is a good one. Okay, so now let's, I'll show you the cover letter thing. So, I pasted the job description and I pasted my resume. So I can say, write a cover letter for this job. And I'm just gonna, that's all you need to do because I've already pasted the other things in there. So it's gonna start the cover letter. It's gonna address it to the hiring manager of the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. This is the position. And then this is what it's gonna do. Again, do not send this as is. Make sure you read it. Make sure you adjust it because you see that it is it is giving them some information here, which from that resume, I'm pretty sure is not true. So you want to bet. I don't know Joan. Joan is just a made up person. So maybe Joan has done some SPSS. So you want to make sure that this is right, but this gives you an idea of how quickly this goes. And you can see that this is why it works. This is what it does. Now, of course, this is made it up. You have to not make things up, but this can give you a start. And then this is the part that I like, and this is the particular prompt that you want to use. Suggest interview questions for this job. And and this is the good part. This is what you really want to do with answer strategies. STRATEGIES. I can spell. Okay. Now it's going to give me somewhere between 7 and 10 questions. So this is the first question. Can you describe your experience with food safety regulation and compliance? And again, this is a bad example, but you can see that it gives you a strategy. This is what you want to talk about. And then it gives you an example answer. And it's pulling things from your resume because we pasted your resume in there previously. So it's pulling information from your resume that will help you answer that question. Now it's making up stories, especially the ones that let's see. I'm looking for one. Tell me about a time. Tell me about a time is your behavioral questions where they want to hear a story. And the story that you want to tell, you want to use the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, result, to organize your answer. And then they say you want to outline your organization, time management, and problem solving skills. So it's going to give you a sample of something you might have done at the Freedom Cafe. You probably didn't do this, but this gives you an idea of what the story should sound like. So this will help you kind of structure your answer so it's answering the question that they are asking. So you want to do situation, task, action, results. So the situation is at Freedom Cafe. This person managed social media campaigns while researching ethical food sourcing. The task was to manage a project under tight deadlines. So with competing deadlines, I prioritized urgent deliverables, created a project timeline, and used Google Sheets and Trello to track progress. Now, nowhere on this resume does it say anything about Trello. I have no idea if this person has ever used Trello. So Trello is a project management program. So you may not be able to say that you did that, but that gives you an idea. I do all of this on Google Sheets, so I wouldn't need Trello. But then you want to include the result. As a result, I successfully launched multiple campaigns, increasing engagement by 40% while maintaining research output. So that just gives you an idea of the structure of your answer. Now I'm going to go all down to the bottom. Closing questions. Do you have any questions for us? So this is really good because you want to ask questions for them. So here are some suggestions for questions you can ask them. And what you want to do when you ask them questions is you want to ask them questions that help you understand if this is going to be something that's going to work for you. So you want to ask questions that answer the questions that you have about what kind of work you're going to be doing, what the team looks like. One of my favorite questions is, why do you like working for ABC Company? Because that lets your interviewer kind of open up and give you some more insight into their job. But then there's some final tips. So this can be really helpful. And then you can suggest a thank you note after the interview. You want to do this within 24 hours of your interview. So this is going to give you an email that you can send them. So it even gives you a subject. Thank you for the opportunity. And then it gives you some verbiage. You'll want to change this. One of the things that I like to do when I do one of these is if there was something that you walk out of the interview and then you go, oh, why didn't I say X? This is where you can say X. So this is going to help you figure out what sort of things you can do. Now, one of the, okay, now remember that the first thing that I did was I pasted the resume in. Okay, from the resume above, suggest job titles I might want to consider. Okay, so now it's going to go back to the resume on the top. And so this is based, oh, it's going back to the food safety. So I'm going to close this out so that we end this one. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to paste this resume in again because I want to get away from the food safety thing. The chat. Okay, let's see. Suggest job titles I should look for with this experience. And then shift return, give me a line. I can paste the resume in there. And now it's gonna suggest some job titles. So this can give you some things that you may not have considered. So here are some things you might want to consider. Okay, and then this person is a music minor, so it's giving them some music stuff too. But you can see that there's a lot of job titles here. So one of the things you can do with this is, let's see, there was one, I don't know what this is. Okay, so I can copy that and I can say, tell me more about that. Okay, so now it's going to tell you a little bit about what a public affairs coordinator does, key responsibilities, all of this. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Who hires them? So it's giving you some places to look, including some titles. It's giving you the skills required, so you need to know that that's what your resume needs to emphasize. You can now, this is the point where you can say, suggest changes on my resume for this job, and it can do that. And then another thing you can ask it for is what companies in the DMV, and surprisingly enough, because I am doing this in DC, it knows that the DMV is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Hiring for this position. Okay, so see, it's searching the web. So the Brookings Institution is hiring a public affairs and event coordinator on Indeed. The General Federation of Women's Clubs is looking for programs and policy specialists on Indeed. It's looking at and Indeed for a lot of these. Oh, this is from PAC. Okay, I don't know what PAC is, but you can click on that and it'll probably take you to that. But you can see that this is all in Washington. Um, so yeah, so even though I didn't say anything about Washington, it knows that the DMV is DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and it's looking for public affairs coordinator or similar roles. So here are some jobs you can apply for. Okay, but wait, are there any jobs in Pittsburgh? I can spell Pittsburgh correct. Yay. Okay, so if Pittsburgh is your hometown, now you can find some in Pittsburgh. Um, and so this is going to find some in Pittsburgh. It's going to suggest ZipRecruiter. I hate ZipRecruiter. I avoid ZipRecruiter with everything I have. So I would go to Glassdoor, which I do trust. But another thing you can do is take one of those job titles. Let's go back here. Let's do media relations assistant. And this is Google Jobs. Google searches the internet, so you can say jobs near me, which is going to draw a 15-mile circle from where I'm sitting in the student center, and find jobs on Google Jobs right here. And if you follow this, this is going to send you emails every time a new job is listed. And you can see that these are free, and then there are 25 more, and these are some more jobs that you can look for. And this is all AI based too, so you can do that. I think that's what I'm going to do, but once you pick out a job, you can ask it to do something. So let's say based on the above resume, give me a creative LinkedIn tagline and bio. Okay, so here is a creative tagline. So you can see it doesn't say public affairs student at GW University. I like this. Bridging policy and public engagement. That's a really good one. And then here is a sample bio. You would want to make sure that this is what you want to say, but this gives you some ideas of how to do that. And this is a good kind of bio to put for someone who is looking for a job. So this is good. And then you can tweak it to better reflect your personal style. Like one of the things I did with a student, let's see, write a sample cover letter for a job in with this title. Okay, so let's see what it does. This is something I did with a student who was applying for a job, I want to say at the Daily Show. And so we did a cover letter like this, which is a pretty standard cover letter for someone who is doing a public affairs coordinator position. But again, this job was at Comedy Central. So sending a boring letter like this is going to be um, kind of not correct. So let's, one of the things I showed him was to do this, make it fun. Now it's going to change up the language. And you can see if there's one thing I love, it's translating big complex ideas into stories that actually engage people. So this, if you want to really talk about your creativity, this is a good way to do it. And you can see that it's a much different, much less business-like letter. I wouldn't send this for this particular position, but if you're applying for a position like something like at the Daily Show, you would want something more like this than a very buttoned up letter. Okay, I'm going to stop that because I want to make sure if anyone has questions, we have time for questions. You can put them in the chat or you can raise your hand and we'll call on you. So what, oh, yes, we can share this presentation with you after. That's not a problem.
Hi, can you hear
Yes,
me?
Asif, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for the detailed background thing. It's pretty impressive actually how much AI has come of age and is able to support. So I'm a grad student and I'm working for my MBA. And I have access to LinkedIn. I've got a detailed profile over there. I've got a lot of experience also. I've been using the filters of Handshake and LinkedIn and Glassdoor to come up with the jobs. And they are throwing me literally hundreds of jobs and internship jobs. And it's such a nightmare to actually pick and choose from those hundreds of jobs and then be able to apply. So I think all these tools will help actually
Yes,
to
this
filter
will
those
really,
hundreds of jobs.
yeah, this really can help narrow down the ones that you want to do. Um, and I think that's great. Yeah. So did you have another question or did I answer that?
No, so I'm just appreciating that this background
Commenting.
actually helps me in my problem.
Okay. David, your question, and Hannah, the emojis. Um, I'm not a big fan of the boldface, but people do that. When when someone is reading your cover letter, and I say when someone is reading your cover letter because people generally don't read cover letters. A lot of times, cover letters tend to be a way to ensure, forcing you to write a cover letter is a way to ensure that you actually want the job enough to take the time to write a cover letter. But the other thing that cover letters do is that when you upload your resume into an applicant tracking system, the applicant tracking system looks at both your resume and your cover letter to score you. So anything that is in the list of qualifications or requirements that you have that is not documented on your cover letter, you want to make sure you include, or documented on your resume, you want to make sure it's in your cover letter. So on Joan's cover letter, there was nothing about photography, but if one of the requirements or one of the nice to haves in a job description is photography experience, it's not in there. But maybe Joan took a photography class when she was in high school. So she would want to throw that into her cover letter so that gets picked up by the bot. Now, when an actual person is reading your cover letter, they're spending about 8 seconds in doing that. And so sometimes the bold sort of leads them to the things you want them to see. It's much more common for business uh, cover letters and resumes to have the bold in it than for other um, non business non the big companies. But it's either way. Emojis I would not use unless you were doing it for the fun. So you see that it wasn't in the first letter that we wrote. There's no emojis except for these check marks. I would not do the check marks. I would do bullet points on that one. But you see, this is the fun one. So in the fun one, you can use the emojis. I would not do it on a standard one. You have to, you want to kind of get an idea of the culture of the organization because the emojis might be um, good for the culture of that organization and it shows that you will fit into the culture of that organization. So you kind of have to do some sleuthing to decide if that's something that you want to do. Um, my number one thing that I like to tell students is be yourself. So if emojis is something that you would use, you don't want to work, if that's who you are, and you might not want to work for a company that would get upset that you use emojis. You might want to use emojis. I will tell you that the last place I worked, I have had purple hair now for 15 years. I love my purple hair. Um, and in my last job, my boss had a conniption fit when she realized that my hair was purple all the time. And she wanted me to change my hair. I wanted to change companies at that point. So I don't want to work for someone who has a problem with my purple hair. And that's kind of the way I feel about emojis and stuff like that. If that is who you are, use them, because then they know who you are. And if that is not going to work for them, they're not going to look at you. And then you will be happy. Okay. Will the employer check to see if you use ChatGPT on your cover letter? No, because one of the things I like to tell you on your cover letter, and this is something I tell all my students. Let's go back to the general one. I am excited to apply for this position. What I usually start with here is a hook, a short 2 to 3 sentence story about why you want to be a public affairs coordinator. What was the spark in the 5th grade that made you interested in public affairs? What did you do as a family that made you want um, to major in environmental sciences? I mean, you want to think about something that shows that in your core, this is who you are. And if you do that, they're going to know that this wasn't a ChatGPT letter, that you actually wrote that letter. Um, and then you want to make sure that you change anything that doesn't sound like you. But here's what's happening in this. There's Chat GPT came out, so employers are putting roadblocks up to prevent you from using ChatGPT because someone has come up with a bot that can actually fill out all of the applicant tracking system forms for you. So you can actually purchase a service that uses AI and you upload your resume, and this service will just go in and apply for jobs without you even knowing about it. And so companies know that this is what's happening. And so they're starting to put things in their applicant tracking systems to kind of discover that. So what you'll see a lot of times now is you have to do the cover letter, but they're not really going to read the cover letter. But what they're going to do is on the form, they are going to, on the applicant tracking system form, the thing you fill out after you upload your resume and cover letter, there might be a couple of short answer questions. And they're doing that to make you answer those questions because it's harder to do that using um, ChatGPT or one of the other AI programs. And then and that's how they're getting around letting everyone do that. It's become sort of a, you know, we'll do this, so they're going to do that, and then it just keeps escalating these things. I don't know when it's going to end, but it is not. It is fine to use ChatGPT for 90% of your letter. It's the other 10% that's going to make the difference for you. Okay, so Hannah asks, whatever if whatever the bot comes up with accurately describes your experience, is it ethical to copy and paste it what AI suggests? Yes, it is, because it accurately described your experience. 50% of the people who say they want a cover letter never read the cover letter. I know this is true. I actually have like actual proof that this is true in my life. So don't stress too much about your cover letter. I know people spend hours thinking about your cover letter. There's no return on investment there. So use ChatGPT. Do not send the ChatGPT letter word for word. But like if all you do is add that little hook right here at the beginning of the first paragraph, that says why a public affairs coordinator is like the be all and end all for you. Um, there's no way for chat to write that. So the first thing they're going to see in your letter is something that tells them that you didn't use AI to do your entire letter. Does that help? Any other questions? Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go back to here because we have this is our evaluation form. We like it when if you would download this little form that is here, and give us a little evaluation. Tell us if this really helped you. We want to make sure that we are providing information to students that they actually want and need. And so this helps us make sure that we're providing the services to you that work for you. If you have any questions, you can always contact me. There's my email address. We will, if you have checked in, and if you didn't check in, oh, thank you. I will put this back up here. Let's see. Oh, it takes forever to do that. Let's see if I can go to the, oh, it's not gonna let me go to the beginning. Okay. If you came in late, sorry. I should have just gotten out of it and gone back. There we go. This is the check-in. So if you came in late, please do this so we know you were here, and that way you can get the presentation sent to you. I saw a hand up. Did it go away?
That was me. I was trying to get the check-in QR code. Thank you.
There we go. Check-in QR code. Any other last minute questions?